garments as a sign of grief and despair. This is still done in our Orthodox movement. This means, "Blessed are you, God, who is the true judge." And once again, Adonai.
אני אנסה לעשות במילים שאולי אבי היה רוצה לראות את זה בתור בדיחה, בתור משהו מצחיק, ולא לראות אותנו פה עומדים ובוכים, ובטח היה לו משהו להגיד על זה גם כן. אז אני אנסה לקרוא את זה באמת בלי לעצור ולהיות הכי אבי שאפשר. אח שלי אבי, הכינוי הזה נדבק בי בהיותי נער בקיבוץ. כל דבר שאמרתי היה מושלך על אבי. כשהלכתי לשען של הקיבוץ, אמרתי, היי, גם אח שלי מתקן שעונים. כשבנו בית לוח התורה, למד מחשוב בקרה ואלקטרוניקה, וגם הוא בונה דברים כאלה. ועוד ועוד, וכל דבר שעשו, אמרתי, גם אח שלי אבי עושה. יכולתי להתווכח ממקום של אמונה וידע באותו נושא. כילד הייתי מעתיק את ספר הטלפונים שלו, שהיה מלא מספרים של כל החברים שלו, כדי שגם לי יהיה כל השטויות שעשו בזמנו. כמו לקחת את הג'ילרה של סגב ולקרוא את העיר. רישיון לאופנוע היה פרט שולי, ועוד דברים. ויעידו על כך שטף ההודעות, הטלפונים ואנשים שהגיעו לנחם בבית של אבא שלנו ביום ההודעות. נכון שלפעמים כשהייתי קטן היה מכסח אותי ונותן לי לאכול דשא, אבל אחר כך הגיעו רחמים והוא היה יושב ואוכל את עצמו. ההרצה המשיכה כשהלך לגדנה האוויר. לא היה גאה ממני בתקופה הזאת, כאילו הטיס לפחות מעבורת חלל. כשהתגייס לקורס טייס, הרגשתי כאילו עונדים לי את הכנפיים. החל החימוש בחטיבה 35 הצנחנים, והיה מגיע הביתה עם מדי צנחנים, קומטה אדומה ונעליים אדומות. הוא היה שייך לקטקל, שפירושו כיתת תיקונים קלה. אבי בדרכו הצפנית קרא לזה כיתה קרבית לוחמת. מבחינתי, עם הלוק שלו, היה מינימום מפקד סיירת מטכ"ל, אם לא יותר. לאחר השחרור של אבי, טס לארצות הברית למעין טיול אחרי צבא, ושב ללימודים באוניברסיטת תל אביב. כך הוא היה, ידע להוציא טוב מכל דבר, ולהעיף מעצמו מה שהפריע לו. בשירותי הצבאי, אבי רצה להקל עליי, ויום אחד כשהגעתי הביתה, לבית ההורים, ראיתי מפתח שחור שרשום עליו הונדה, ומצבר קטן שאבי הניח לטעינה במעבדה שלו, שהלכה וגדלה עד יומו האחרון. אבי קנה לי אופנוע יחיד במינו, ולא בגלל שהיה נדיר, אלא בגלל שהייתה גרוטאה, והשקעתי במחיר של אופנוע חדש. אבל הרצון שלו לעזור לי עם כל מה שהיה בידו באותו רגע נתון, זה מה שהיה חשוב בעיניו. היינו משפחה מאוד קרובה ומלוכדת. עם עזיבתכם מארצות הברית, מטבע הדברים נפגשנו הרבה פחות, וזה היה חסר לכולנו. המחלה הזו תפסה אותך ללא הכנה מוקדמת, ואני זוכר את הבדיקות שערכת. גם לך וגם בתוך הבית שגרתם בו לבדוק מאיפה זה מגיע, אם זה מגיע, את הסבל שעברת עד השתלה, ואת הסבל שעברת עד יום שבת האחרון. ידעת שזמנך קצוב, וניצלתם את הזמן בצורה מופלאה, בטיולים בעולם, לראות ולספור כמה שיותר. בשישי או בחמישי, אני כבר לא זוכר, עוד דיברנו בטלפון שיחה ארוכה, ואמרת לי שנגמר לך הזמן, ואמרתם לי, אתה ובילה, שאם אני רוצה להיפרד, הגיע הזמן להגיע. בלתי נתפס וקשה לכולנו. אני מבטיח לנסות לסייע ולתמוך במה שאוכל. בילה, אנחנו איתך בכל מצב. אבי, אהבתי ואוהב אותך, תמיד אוהב אותך. יהיה זכרה ברוך.
Avi's brother. This nickname stuck with me when I was a teenager in the kibbutz. Everything was thrown at Avi. When I went to the kibbutz watchmaker, I said, "Hi, my brother also fixes watches." When we built the scoreboard on the basketball court, I said, "My brother also studied instrumentation and control, amongst many other things." I adored Avi since I was born. The wisdom, the sharpness, the ability to create and solve problems, his directness, and his ability to argue from a place of conviction and knowledge on the same subject. As a child, I would copy his phone book, which was full of numbers, so that I too would have a phone book full of friends, like my brother. Avi always took care of me. I was the chubby kid, and he was the heartthrob hottie who goes to the beach, works out with friends, and goes to clubs. The kids and all the nonsense they did at the time, like taking Segev scooters without showing ID and tearing up the city. A motorcycle license was a minor detail. Avi was surrounded by friends who walked with him until his last day and would testify to the flow of messages, phone calls, and people who came to bring him comfort in his home. My admiration for Avi continued as he went to the Air Force. As far as I'm concerned, with his look, he was at least a general patrol commander, if not more. After his army service, he flew to the USA for a trip and then returned to studies at Tel Aviv University. That's how he was. He knew how to get the best out of everything and throw away what bothered him. During my military service, Avi wanted to make it easier for me, and one day when I got home, I saw a black key on a table with the word Honda written onto it. His desire to help with what was in his hands at any moment, that's what was important. We were a very close-knit family. With your departure to the US, naturally we met much less, and we all missed you. This disease caught you without prior preparation, and I remember the many tests you did, both on yourself and on the house, to figure out where it might be coming from, and on all the suffering that you went through until the transplant, and the suffering you went through until last Saturday. You knew that your time was limited, and you used that time in a wonderful way by traveling around the world, seeing and absorbing as much as possible. On Saturday, we talked on the phone for a long time, and you told me that you ran out of time. And you told me that if I want to say goodbye, it's the time. Unfathomable and difficult for all of us, I promise to try and help and support with what I can. Bila, we are with you in any situation. Avi, I loved and will always love you, my dear brother. Rest in peace.
Thank you, Ophir, for translating. Now I'd like to ask Sister Liat to come forward.
יש לי זיכרון ממך. אני בת 10, אתה בן 25. ואנחנו חוצים את רחוב ויצמן בנתניה כדי למכור מקציף קפה. נכנסנו לכל בתי העסק ברחוב. לא הייתה חנות שפספסת כמובן, וקצב ההליכה שלך היה מהיר. האמנת שזה הדבר הכי טוב שהם יכולים לקנות לעצמם, ומי שלא רצה אמרת לי, בואי, ממשיכים, הם פשוט לא מבינים ויש אחרים שמחכים לנו. ואני מסתכלת על אחי הבכור, יפה התואר, עם גומות החן בהרצה, על המרץ, המוטיבציה, האמונה, הנחישות והיכולת לדבר ולסחוף אנשים. כואב ובלתי נתפס לדבר עליך בלשון עבר, אבל כזה תמיד היית, נחוש ונמרץ. אדם עם עולם פנימי עשיר ומלא, כל כך הרבה תחביבים היו לך. ובולים, והושבת כל מי שרק הביע טיפה של התעניינות להסבר מפורט וארוך, עד שבילה הייתה מגיעה ומחלצת אותם. הייתה לך אמת פנימית ברורה, ואיתה הלכת עד הסוף. אדם שפיו וליבו שווים בצורה מוחלטת. מעולם לא ניסית להתחבב על אף אחד, או להביע דעה רק בשביל להישמע. אהבתי להתייעץ איתך ולשמוע אותך מדבר, ולא היה נושא שאי אפשר היה לדבר איתך. דיברנו לא פעם על סגיב, גיא ואופיר. הבנים שלך. סיפרת עד כמה אתה אוהב אותם וגאה בהם. הם היו מקור האושר, גם אם היו ריבים בדרך. סיפרת לי על ההפתעה שאתה מתכוון לעשות לבילה, ברגע שתתחזק. והיית כל כך מאושר מהתוכנית שבנית. בובה קראת לה, ובכל הזדמנות התגאית בה. תמיד אמרת שאין אישה כמוה. וצדקת. בילה יקרה. אין מילים לכאב, לאובדן ולריג שהוא השאיר. האהבה שלך אליו היא מתנה משמיים. ואני אומרת לך תודה על כל מה שהיית ועשית עבורו. בשמי ובשם כל המשפחה ובטח החברים. אבי. את שמך אבי. אמא נתנה לך כדי לציין את אביה, אבי, שנספה בשואה, וככה היית עבור כולנו. אבי המשפחה, תמיד דאגת לכולם. החודשים האחרונים היו עבורך לסבל מתמשך, וכל יום תקוותך הלכה ופחתה, כמו גם גופך החזק, שאיבד את היכולת להחזיק בחיים. כל המשפחה והחברים עמומים וכואבים את לכתך בטרם עת. רונן ואני פה, ונעשה הכל בשביל לשמור על בילה והילדים. אוהבים אותך לנצח נצחים. נוח על משכבך בשלום.
Sagiv will translate.
I have a memory of you. I am 10 years old and you are 25 years old, and we crossed Weitzman Street in Netanya to sell a coffee machine. We went into all the businesses on the street, and there was not a store on the street that you missed as you walked quickly between each one. You believed it was the best thing they could buy for themselves, and those who didn't want to, well, you looked at me and told me, come on, let's continue. They don't understand, and there are others waiting for us. I looked at my handsome older brother with dimples on my cheeks from admiration for his energy, motivation, faith, determination, and speaking ability. It hurts to talk about you in the past tense. But you were always like that, determined, energetic, a person with a rich and full inner world. You had so many hobbies. You collected coins and stamps, and if someone expressed even a bit of interest, you would be there to provide detailed explanation of your collections, and it would be a long time before Bila would rescue them. A man whose mouth and heart are absolutely equal. You never tried to impress anyone or express an opinion just to be heard. I love taking advice from you and hearing you speak. I could discuss anything and everything with you. We often talked about Sagiv, Guy, and Ophir, your boys, and how proud you are and how much you love them. They were the source of happiness, even if there were fights along the way. You told me about the surprise party you were going to throw for Bila once you got stronger, and you were so happy for the plan you had put together. You called her a doll, and you were proud of her. You always said there was no woman like her, and you were right. Dear Bila, there's no words for the pain, the loss, and the emptiness. Your love for Avi is a gift, and I say thank you for everything you were and everything you did, for him and my whole family. Avi, your name means my father. Our mother gave you this name to symbolize her father who perished in the Holocaust. You always took care of everyone. The last few months have been continuous suffering for you, and every day your hope was diminishing as well as your body. All of our family and friends are shocked and heartbroken by your untimely passing. Ronen and I are here. We will do everything to support Bila and the children. Love you forever and ever, and rest in peace.
Thank you, Sagiv. Bila, would you like to say a few words?
I will say only 3 words. That I was the luckiest woman in life to live next to Avi, and half of my heart go inside with him. That's it.
How do we come together today to say goodbye and do justice to everything that it means to live a human life on this planet? All of the good decisions, all of the bad decisions, all of the successes, and all of the regrets. Certainly, in say goodbye, it's an impossible task to speak about everything that goes into living a human life. When I look to our tradition to find out what God says, statements in our Bible, but perhaps the most elegant and most profound rendering of God's thoughts comes from the prophet Micah, who says to us, what does God ask of each of us but to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God? Micah says actually it's very simple. God doesn't ask us to be the life of the party, to be the CEO of the next multinational corporation. God certainly doesn't ask us to be perfect parents or perfect people. Each of us is to try our very best every day in a world that is filled with hatred, intolerance, and unspeakable acts of violence. To try our best to be decent, caring people, people who have a sensitive heart to others who are in need, people who understand that while we get to make the small decisions in our lives, like what to wear and what to have for breakfast tomorrow, we look to God for the answer to the largest question in our lives, which is what while we're here. The problem for God is that He gave us instructions on how to be these caring people in our Bible, but they're just words on paper. Until somebody actually reads God's words or hears about them and follows His instructions to make the world a better place for family and friends. So, in a very real sense, God desperately needs partners here on earth, people who will follow His instructions. I didn't know Avi, but based on everything that I have learned about him, I can say I would have loved to have met him. He sounds like a wonderful man. What I learned about him is that first and foremost, he was a loving husband, a loving father, and a loving grandfather, and a loving brother. We could stop there because that tells us everything we need to know about his heart. But beyond that, I learned that he was very involved as a father with the children growing up. He was really smart, very sharp. He was a very good provider for the family. He always made sure they had everything. He was kind. He was a very genuine man. He was honest. He was fair. He was always willing to help others. And he was very well respected in his job. His favorite times were together with the children. He loved family dinners. I understand he has a really wonderful coin and stamp collection, that he was very handy with electronics. He could fix everything. He loved to travel, and they especially loved Europe. Yeah. And he worked for a transportation company. And I guess we have some people from the company here today, so that's a beautiful tribute to him. I think with only a very short example and examination of Avi's life today, all of us can say he was a wonderful partner for God while he was here. He understood God's instructions beautifully. Take care of your family, love your family, be kind to your friends. He lived those instructions every single day of his life, and he made the world a much, much better place for his family and friends. I'm sure that God is welcoming into the Garden of Eden today, saying thank you. Thank you for setting such a beautiful example of how to be a caring man in the world. I left you down there as long as I could, but I can see this last bit has gotten so very, very difficult for you. Now it's time for you to come up to heaven to be here with me, so I can personally take care of you for the rest of eternity. At this time, I would like to ask those of you who are able to please rise for our memorial prayer. You'll find this on pages 20 and 21 in your booklets. El male rachamim shochen bameromim hametzei minucha nichona tachat kanfei hashchina v'malot kiddushim Kiddushim udorim gezar arakia mazirim et nishamat Avi ben Artur shehalach leolamo Began Eden, Te minuchato, Lachen bal harachamim. Yastireu beseter, Kenafav leolamim. V'yitzoror, V'yitzror b'yitzror achayim V'yitzror b'yitzror achayim Et nishmato Adonai unachelato V'yanuach b'shalom Al mishkavo V'nomar Amen. In just a moment, beginning with the family, I'm going to ask those of you who wish to come forward to place earth on the casket. At the end of the book of Deuteronomy, Moses ascends Mount Nebo, and we don't hear from Moses again. And our tradition tells us that God himself buries Moses. And from this, we are to learn that it is our honor and our responsibility to complete the burial ourselves. The rabbis felt this was so important, they called it a chesed shel emet, a true act of loving kindness, because it's something for which Avi cannot repay us. And that is, he will be buried by the people who loved him most in the world and whom he loved most in the world. I'm reading from page 7. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Thank you, gentlemen. This time I would like to ask the family to come forward to place earth. Traditionally, we place an odd number of shovelfuls, usually 1 or 3, and then we place the shovel back in the earth rather than handing it off to the next person. It's fine. This time I would like to invite everyone else forward who would like to place earth. We can form 2 lines, one from the back here and one from the front as well. Right. Yeah, that's fine. Once you've finished placing earth, please come back to your seats for our final prayer. It's okay. Our final act of love here at the graveside is to recite the mourner's Kaddish. The Kaddish is a very special and powerful prayer in Jewish tradition. Judaism teaches that the souls of our loved ones ascend to God over the course of 1 year. And every time we come together to say Kaddish, it will be as if a little puff of air comes under Avi's soul, pushing him closer and closer to God. And we imagine today as we recite Kaddish for the first time that we allow his soul to begin the journey upwards to God. We'll be on pages 22 and 23 in your booklets, 22 and 23. And we say together, Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divra chidutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mivarach le'alam ul'almei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal Shemei dekudsha berichu, le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei Shlomo Rabbah min Shamaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. O say shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Thank you for being here today to comfort the family at this very difficult time. I leave you with a final prayer. Hamakom yinachem etchem b'tok shavlei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. May all of you here today who have lost such a special friend in Avi be comforted by the Holy One who bestows all comfort and blessing, and we say, Amen. Thank you. That concludes our service today.
For anyone who'd like to, we're continuing the morning at home in our house in Encino. So if anybody wants to join us, you're welcome to. Just find us and we'll give you the address. Thank you.
Just signal there. Yeah. Señor.
Vamos almoçar?